Hail to the king, baby.
It's Monday, you know what that means. It's me, it's Michael B, and thank you for joining me for another Chillin' Chat with Michael B. Tonight we're going to recap all the fun stuff that happened at Pinball Expo. Man, I had so much fun I even got sick at the end and thought I was dying, but I'm here, home, safe and sound, and don't worry, I got a mask here. I'll mask up if it makes you guys feel safer while we do the show tonight. Only kidding, but I have been wearing a mask around my kids because God only knows what I brought home, right? So anyways, lots of fun stuff. We had such a fun week, so many fun times, shenanigans. We went to so many cool places, did so many cool things. I can't wait to tell you guys all about it and all the cool shit we saw. On top of that, there was a ton of stuff we missed because we were busy out doing all the stuff. So I'm going to talk about that. Tons of news. In the home arcade space, GRS made a pretty significant announcement about changes to his full-size Multicade. New Wave Toys were supposed to be at Pinball Expo, didn't show up, started a new show, and made a pretty awesome announcement about their upcoming line of mini pins. We also had At Games release a table, and geez, what else was it? Oh yeah, Arcade1Up came out with a new photo booth. All this and more on Chillin' Chat with Michael B. I told you I should have wore the mask. Anyways, guys, just want to say hello to a couple people here in the chat. Thank you so much for being here tonight. I know P-Dubs is still probably going live right now. He likes to go for me intentionally. He's very competitive. Dan Z is here, first year. Always good to see you, Dan in St. Louis. Dark Empire's here. Carlo, Decadent Dave, Doritos Reese's. What are the odds? Street Fighter Alpha 2 or get an Arcade1Up cab? We'll talk about that a little later. Show Gecko's here. Who else we got? Andy's Game Room. Bill's Retro Gaming Show's here. We missed you this weekend, Bill. Would have been great to meet you. Smikowski 54. Looked like a fun weekend. You have no idea, brother. Dustin Reverman was at the Pinball Expo. Never got to play Alice. Neither did I. Who else we got? Jason Little Alien, best moderator in the business. Thank you so much for being here, Jason. J-Rod's here. Jolly Green. MSU Rich is here. Garo 5280 says photo booth greater than everything else. That's interesting. Random One says hello. My good buddy Stock Jock. Hello, YouTube folks. I'm excited to get Mr. Mike B's take on the expo. Yeah, a lot to talk about, Daryl, especially first day with you and our very appropriate breakfast in Chicago. Doug Wynn is here. Who else we got? Did I miss anybody? Did I see MSU Rich? David G, it was good to see you. Did you get a chance to play the Atari Recharge Cabinet? Yes, I did get a chance to play it finally. It was pretty cool. Chris Z, good to see you, my man. JR, Frank D. Good that Mike finally normalizes audio levels. I try. I'm getting a new microphone soon. I'm getting a, what do you even call it? Getting one of those, 19K Fox told me what it was. I'm getting one of those deluxe Shure mics because I'm just tired of my audio not being what I want it to be. So I'm getting what Fox called the Joe Rogan mic. So we'll see how that goes. Anyways, guys, thank you so much for being here. We do have a poll up in the chat. What was the most interesting home arcade news from this past week? Right now, your 4 options are New Wave Toys, Williams Mini Pins, GRS full-size 19-inch screen, Wonderland physical 3/4 pinball, and last but not least, Arcade1Up Photo Booth. So make sure to vote. Vote now and vote often. Well, you can only vote once, so vote once, and let's decide what the most exciting product in the home arcade space from this past week was. But where do I want to start off? Man, we got to talk about Chicago, because Chicago was so much fun. I flew into Chicago first thing in the morning, and as soon as I got into the airport, I actually heard from my buddy Stock Jock. Him and Multicade Matt were already there. 19K Fox was in a hotel. He had stayed there the night before, right next to the airport. So I jumped in the car with Stock Jock, Multicade Matt. We went over and got 19K Fox, and wouldn't you know it, right next to the hotel, there was a Portillo's. So the big thing I had coming out of my last trip to Chicago was I wanted to make sure I got in all the stuff I missed last time, and I never got to Portillo's last time. So first thing, like a dart, I was headed to Portillo's. I was getting hot dogs for breakfast. I think we all got the exact same thing, didn't we, Stock Jock? Me, you, and Matt both got like the Portillo's special, which was fries, drink, and 2 hot dogs, and it was incredible. Super good. Definitely recommend Portillo's. Now, it wasn't a normal Portillo's. It was a Portillo's drive-in, I think, only, or Portillo's, just really quick out. There was no sit-in section. So we actually took the Portillo's, went back to Fox's hotel, ate in the lobby. So there we go. Doug Wynn says, all I gotta say, the Michael B takeover of Kong's channel was great. You guys, in all seriousness, looked like you had a blast. Yeah, we did. Big time. So much fun. And we were just trying to motivate Kong to do more stuff on YouTube. That was the whole idea. Stockjock says, best hot dogs he ever had. I agree. Hold on, guys. I'm catching up. Still trying to get over this flu, man. It's tough going. We'll talk about that as the event goes on. Apparently, I may have Stringer Films to thank for this current condition I'm in. That's what Nick Madsen tells me. So anyways, after we did that, we met up with the rest of the gang. Eventually, everybody got off the plane. I think Justin was next. He Ubered over from the airport to the hotel. Followed shortly after by P-Dubs. Eventually, B-Kongs showed up as well. Then we headed out and we went to Interium, which is like a Dave & Buster's on drugs. Huge arcade area. They had bowling, they had everything. Now, when we got in, there was a ton of pinball machines to play, lots of arcades. We were super excited when we were looking at the pinball lineup because they had everything. The only problem was about 50% of the machines were turned off. So we walk in and we're like, why? Why was everything turned off? Like, why were none of the machines working? And as soon as we walked in, there's Zach Sharp from Stern Pinball there. They were setting up because they were going to have the Stern Pro Circuit there the very next night. So we got to talk to Zach Sharp from Stern Pinball. And if you guys aren't familiar with Zach Sharp, Zach is the son of Roger Sharp. You know, the movie, the guy who saved pinball? Yeah, Zach is his son. So anyways, Zach is like one of the big wigs over at Stern Pinball. We got to talk to him for a little bit. Super nice guy. Then I finally got to play some of those new pins I was really looking forward to. So I got to knock off Elton John, which is by far my favorite Jersey Jack game to date. I really like Guns N' Roses, obviously, because I'm a huge fan of the music, so that wins for me. But otherwise, I've always had a problem with Jersey Jack's games. I don't know. I just don't enjoy them. I don't enjoy the flipper strength. They fixed the flipper strength with Elton John. Avatar was there as well. I got to play that as well. I don't know how I feel about Avatar. Like, I really like Elton John. I like Avatar, but there's certain things I don't like about it. It's got much better flipper strength, but I just had a hard time getting into the game. I don't know why. So Elton John, really good. Avatar, I don't like the theme at all. I've never watched the movies. I'm sure it's good. I just, in my limited playing experience, I didn't get it. So there we go. Guns and Dirtbags, you give it up. I know, Paul. I want none of the above option on the survey. Don't worry. We'll talk about something else with Arcade1Up a little later on. Hey, thank you so much, JJ. I had mentioned that earlier. Dubs does this all the time. He goes over a little bit to remind me that he's a bigger star. He's very competitive. So anyways, that was the first night we went to Interium. We left Interium, went back to the Verbo, and yes, I'm with you, Bill's Retro Gaming Show. Does nothing for me. Oh, exact same thing, Stock Jock. Same thing for me with Elton John. I went in there and right away put on Saturday Night's All Right for Fighting. That was immediately going on. I'll stick around on that promise, MB. Hey, there we go, Paul. Thank you very much. So after that, we went back to the Verbo because we weren't allowed to check in until 4 o'clock for some reason. So we finally checked in, and we went to Target to go buy beer first. And Chicago is one of those states that do not sell beer in department stores. So we were walking around Target and we were like, where's the beer, dude? There was no beer. So I got fed up, and I forgot to tell you guys this. So when I first got to Chicago, they lost my suitcase. So I had no suitcase. I had forgot to wear socks with brand new sneakers. My feet were killing me in Target, and I had nothing to change into. So I had to go buy a pack of socks. In the off event, my other luggage never came in. So we did that. We went back to the Verbo, and when we got there, P-Dubs immediately went to sleep. So, of course, what am I going to do when someone goes to sleep in the middle of the night? I take a picture. And, of course, that picture became a glorious meme for the rest of the weekend. I enjoyed every one of the pictures that you guys put out there. Thank you so much for taking something so innocuous as me taking a picture of P-Dubs sleeping instead of hanging out with his friends and turning it into one of the best moments of our weekend. Thank you very, very much. So we go on from there, and at that point, I actually got a call from the airport. Mysteriously, after checking all day and them having no idea, they found my luggage. So me and Fox headed out. We hit up a beer liquor store. We picked up a bunch of booze for the house. Then we picked up my luggage, came back. We had a couple drinks, and we were thinking about it. And we were like, okay, we're supposed to go to... I can't remember the name of the bar that was right downtown. That was the plan. Logan's Arcade. But we were looking at it, and we're like, that's an hour away. And we all said, you know what? We paid for games in Interium earlier. I got like $40 on a card. I'd only used like $6 in the time we were there. I had tons of money left. We were like, screw it. Let's just go back to Interium. So that's what we ended up doing. Went back to Interium. We played a bunch more pinball. I forgot to tell you the other games I got to play. So on top of that, I finally got to play John Wick. John Wick is okay, but I think 19K Fox had the same opinion I had that everybody really had. It's a frustrating game. Like, it's hard to find enjoyment with it. Maybe it's just something I'm doing. I don't know, but I didn't really like John Wick. Now, I'm a fan of the movie franchises. Just didn't like it. I don't know why. So John Wick, I wasn't very excited about that. Finally got to play a Jaws Premium, and let me tell you, I really like Jaws. I think at first I played on the Pro, so it doesn't have all the bells and whistles of the Premium. So I didn't really get the full experience, but playing on the Premium definitely changed my mind about Jaws. I can see why people rave about it so much. The other thing that's always thrown me off with Jaws is, realistically, the art is so fucking bland on Jaws. Like, really bland. On the playfield, nothing's exciting happening. Even on the side blades and stuff like that. It's, I don't know, it's just one of those that's very good with the theme, but it feels super uncreative. Maybe it just doesn't have all those wild and wacky colors that we're used to a Stern pinball machine having. I have no idea, but anyways, I started playing Jaws Premium, and I fell in love with it. I had such a good time. So moving on, I also got to play, what's the other one I got to play? Pulp Fiction, which is one I was really looking forward to. Awesome old school pinball machine. Had a lot of fun playing it. My only big problem with Pulp Fiction was the fact they had the volume so friggin' low. Like, honestly, you could barely hear any of the callouts, any of the music, anything that was happening. And where that table is so old school, if you don't hear those callouts, you don't get the full experience. You don't really get to enjoy the game. So while I did finally get to play Pulp Fiction, I I didn't really get to play Pulp Fiction, so it kind of soured my experience a little bit there because I couldn't friggin' hear the game. I could hear nothing. And I don't know, I think it was because they had it so low. I'm not 100% sure. Now, last but not least, they did have some older pins there. One that we all kind of fell in love with and had a ton of fun with was Cirque Voltaire. Like, they had Circus Voltaire there. All of us had a chance to play it, and it's amazing with all these modern Sterns, modern Jersey Jacks, games from other companies. The one we gravitated to probably the most was Circus Voltaire. So, had a ton of fun with Circus Voltaire. Not an easy game to get. Not an inexpensive game to get either. Yeah, Chris Eek, any spooky pinball there? Not a single friggin' game. I couldn't believe it. No Halloween, no Looney Tunes, Texas Chainsaw, no Scooby-Doo. They didn't have any spooky there. Chris, we'll come back to spooky in just a little bit. I know, the ocean is blue. Hard to make wacky and wild colors from that. Even so, like, it's so boring. Maybe make more red on it, splashes of red for blood. I don't know, Gallagher guy. It's a super good game, but I guess it just looks so simplistic when you see it. You don't really get it. We'll come back to Jaws a little bit later. So anyways, we stayed there. We met, what was it? Aaron from, what's his name? We Buy Pinball? Aaron, We Buy Pinball on Twitter. We met him there. He had a Barrels of Fun shirt. I was like, where'd you get your shirt? He was like, I bought it. I was like, makes sense. So then after that, we went to White Castle. We had something to eat, went back to the house, and at this point, we had eaten way too much bad stuff. White Castle on top of, what was the Portillo's. So then it was like Gastric Central, and we started drinking. And that's when we did our first stream on B's channel. And the rest is history. Those streams were something friggin' else, man. Yeah, Jaws is excellent. Yeah, that was at Pinball Expo, Gallagher guy. We were talking about Interium. You know what's weird, Aaron? I actually really like Galactic Tank Force. I know people shit on it because there's those, what are they called? 3D printed characters in the table that kind of take away from it, but every time I've played Galactic Tank Force, I've had a bunch of fun with it. Don't have any problem with that. That's another new game I got to play at Interium. They did, in fact, have a version of Barrio's Barbecue from American Pinball. It was okay. It was fun. Just a really dumb theme. It's not one I would ever buy, but I can't say it wasn't fun to play. And American Pinball shoots pretty good. I don't know what to tell you. I like both Galactic Tank Force and Barrio's. I would consider getting a Galactic Tank Force, not a Barrio's. Looney Chainsaw Massacre. Yeah, we'll talk about that in a minute, guys. White Castle makes everybody's stomach upset. Oh my god, but like the meal we had was incredible. We had sliders, chicken rings, fries, colas. It was great. So we wake up the very next day, we go get Denny's, and after Denny's, it was off to Galloping Ghost, and we got to go back to the arcade. It has changed so much since the last time I was there. It's even bigger. Of course, they had a new game every single Monday. But I was determined I was going to do all the things I never got to do last time. So we spent the majority of the day at Galloping Ghost. We got there first. First person we saw was Steps Gaming. We went in. Immediately, I went to Time Traveler and Holosseum. I had to play those because last time I was there and I didn't play them. Then right after that, I got to go to Robotron, and I actually got to put up the top score on Robotron. I couldn't believe it. I was number one on the machine. Now, that didn't last. As soon as Stockjock got there, he absolutely blew me away, but it felt so good being able to go into this massive arcade and record the top score. I mean, obviously just for the day on Robotron. So that made me feel kind of special to play my favorite arcade game, get the top score, if only for a short while. My name was on that board. Jesus, Jason, take care of yourself, man. How'd you hit your head in the kitchen? Be safe, brother. They don't call them sliders for nothing, that's true. Oh man, were we gassy that night. So then after that, I think we went over and me and Justin and Steps actually played start to finish. We did a 6-player game of X-Men. Then just played a bunch of different games, but we noticed Justin just disappeared in the middle of it. Now, if you guys don't know, look at this guy. Congrats for 1 hour, LOL. It still counts, Stock Jock. Congratulations on your day score. So we noticed Justin was friggin' missing, and we were like, where's Justin? So then we figured it out. He went down to Galloping Ghost Pinball because Justin is now all about pinball, not the arcades. All he wants to do is pinball. So we went back to Galloping Ghost Pinball, and I spent the majority of my time in the front room playing a Nightmare Freddy's Pinball on Nightmare on Elm Street. I absolutely love that game. Right next to it is Creature from the Black Lagoon. On the other side, they've got Twilight Zone. They've got Addams Family. Just so many friggin' awesome games. Up top, they've got like a Chicago gaming section where it used to be Godzilla and Monster Bash. Now it's Monster Bash and Medieval Madness. Played both of those. Went in the back room. Got to play Elvira House of Horrors. All the Elvira games are there right in a row. Attack from Mars was there. Got to play a bunch of stuff at Galloping Ghost Pinball. I mean, for a small pinball location, I think it really speaks to me because there's a focus on horror themes. And that's totally my jam. Like, you take horror, video games, horror, pinball. It's just amazing. I know Kongs R Us was so excited. Jaws can't do it, but Freddy eats the ball. That's right. I love Nightmare on Elm Street. Like, if there's a 90s spin that stands above the else of one I would be willing to take a chance on and a risk on and learning how to keep working, Gottlieb Freddy is number one. Also, they have Tales from the Crypt there as well. And fun story, every single time I've played a physical Tales from the Crypt and I started scoring over the 100 million mark, at that point, something gets messed up. When we went to the, I forget what it's called, like the Pinball Hall of Fame in Ottawa, they had a Tales from the Crypt there, and I was having a great game, and then all of a sudden, I got to 100 million, hit a multi-ball, and the machine just froze. There was no one there to fix it, so I was like, screw it, I'll just leave. So there at Galloping Ghost, same thing happened again. I just passed 100 million, and then the ball disappeared, and I was like, I can't find the ball anywhere. The machine was doing the stuff to try to drop it out. Finally, a guy came over, took it out of the glass, and just dropped it down. What had happened is the ball had launched and went on top of a mech, and it was just stuck there between the mech and the glass. And that was it, but, you know, I still had a great game on Tales from the Crypt, and it was fun. But then we got to go back to Galloping Ghost. I played a bunch of other stuff. I got to play Jurassic Park, Sega Jurassic Park, the arcade game before. And the crazy thing is, I've never seen this machine physically before. I always assumed it was a gun game, but you're actually driving in a Jeep, and you're playing with a flight stick, like a Tron stick. I was like, holy shit, this is so different than I thought it was. So I sat down playing that, and then all of a sudden, another guy sat down to me who was a retired firefighter from New York, told me, like, you know, watch you guys all the time. So he jumped in, and we finished Jurassic Park together. So that was awesome. What else did I play? I got to play Star Wars. Star Wars was actually working this year, so I got to play Star Wars on a real machine for the first time. Oh my god, am I out of practice? Or holy shit, holy shit, am I bad at real Star Wars? Is the game so different? No Pitbull, Barbecue is America's best game. I don't know about that. I think Galactic Tank Force is, but I could be wrong. Yeah, that's the weird thing. It's only an extra $5 more, and it's definitely worth it. Like, I was mad at myself because I only paid the $25 for the day fee to Galloping Ghost. And then afterwards, I was like, shit, I should have paid the extra money. But I told them down at Galloping Pinball, I was like, yeah, can I do like an add-on? They just charged me $5 more. I got to play the pinball there. It was great. Yeah, I cannot recommend highly enough going to Galloping Ghost. Second time was just as good as the first, but the one thing I will say is it's so weird. When you go in there, it's like when you're sitting on the start menu of a massive multicade. You have so many options. you almost don't know what to play, and you jump from machine to machine really quickly. You don't spend your time in really mastering a game. So I would play Donkey Kong, and I'd be like, oh, that's awesome. Oh my god, there's Centipede, and then I would go over and play Centipede, and I would jump from game to game to game. So it's kind of like you're in a giant multicade scrolling through games. So the only thing I found a little disappointing, there were still some games that were down, and one of my favorites that just came out as a quarter arcade, Zookeeper. I turned the corner, saw Zookeeper, I was like, yes, badass. Down. One of the only ones that was down, so that was a little disappointing, but what are you going to do, right? Anyways, from there, geez, I can't remember what we did after Galloping Ghost. Did we just go home? Or did we go somewhere to eat? I can't even remember. Was it after Galloping Ghost we did White Castle? How can I not remember this stuff? Anyways, obviously, we weren't drinking at the time. We were clean and sober all day long. But I don't know why I can't remember what we did. But then we obviously went back to the house, had more drinks, and yeah, after that, we did more embarrassing streams where we talked about stew. So that was super fun. And then day 3 was the Pinball Expo. This is where things really ramped up, and I was really excited about this. So very first thing in the morning, thanks to Kongs R Us, Kongs R Us was invited to this bougie Stern Pinball exclusive media influencer tour, and he got all of us guys invited as well. Us lesser than. So we showed up for the Stern Pinball tour, and we're there in the parking lot, and the next thing you know, you've got Retro Ralph, Nick Madsen, Mason Conrad, and Stringer Films walking at us. And I was like, oh my god. So I ran up, said hello to everybody. And then at that moment, then Cool Toy drives by us, puts down his window, and he's like, I guess they let anybody in here. So it was just one of those surreal YouTube moments of not just being with friends, but then meeting people you've been talking to for years and years and years all at the same time in such a fun coincidence. Then after that happened, Jack Danger drives by in his truck and says something out the window at us as well. It was all super surreal. So we got to see the giant Stern Pinball outside. We walked in, and they took us in 2 different groups. So me, P-Dubs, I think Console Kits, Ralph, Mason, and Cool Toy were all in a group that had to stay out front, and they just gave us a bunch of machines to play on. So that was fun. We just got to check out a bunch of machines, while the other people did a Stern factory tour, and they said, don't worry, someone will come get you for your part. No one ever did come to get us for the factory tour. We never got to go see the actual factory part. We were all out there just playing pinball, and they're like, hey, come on into the game room. So then we went all into the game room, and there it was, Metallica Pinball, just there for us to play. And then they also had a pile of X-Men set up. They had all kinds of food, donuts. They had coffee there from Starbucks. And next thing I know, I turn around, Kerry Hardy walks in. And I said to Kerry Hardy, I'm like, they let you in here? So anyways, he was a super funny guy. If you've ever watched him on YouTube, he's the exact same person in person that he is on camera. So that's always something I like to see. Super relatable, really super nice guy. Came up, surprised me while I was trying to put something in the garbage can, made me laugh. Then I went over and I got in on the Metallica with Retro Ralph, and I forget who else was playing, but we all jumped in on a game. It was his friend Brian, and was it his friend Brian, or was Brian just off to the side? So anyways, I got to shoot 1 ball, and then Retro Ralph went insane and jumped up a massive score, hit 3 wizard modes. I was like, the hell is happening? And I was like, well, I'm never going to get a turn again. So then I just went and played a pile of X-Men. So anyways, the new Metallica, super fun upgrade to the original game. The original Metallica was super great to shoot. I like the changes they made. I'm a big Metallica fan, but I'm not a big music table guy. So I don't know if it's something I would want to own personally. Definitely something I would play if a bar here locally ever got one, any bar here would ever get one. But then I played X-Men, and I gotta tell you guys, X-Men is really, really friggin' good. Whatever problems they had initially with the pinball machine on that stream, don't worry about it all, because once you start playing, you're like, This game is super badass. So you would think it would be weird with the smaller play field because it's got the danger room on the side, but it's also got one of those save posts down the middle, which actually really helps because you don't have the ability to nudge as much as you would with a real table, so that does play a huge part in it. The other thing I learned how to do this trip, well, a little bit, was nudge. I'm not saying I'm going to do it all the time, but yeah, I did. Yeah, so that was the Stern tour. That was super fun. I gotta say, first time ever meeting Ralph and talking to Ralph in person, and what a super nice guy. Like, great conversations. Not everybody in the home arcade space likes each other. Like, there's some people that don't see eye to eye, but it was, like, super nice. Nothing was awkward. It was great to finally meet him. We had a great time together. Nothing but love there. And same with Doug. I got to meet Doug for the first time. You see this guy on YouTube all the time, like this amazing content creator. Had a conversation with him, and he was awesome. So when we were leaving there, we invited Doug to come to lunch with us. And even though Doug is, kind of to himself and not in big groups, came out to lunch with us. We had a great time. We went to Lou Malnati's. That's what we did for dinner the night before. And the Illuminati's was incredible. The only thing I didn't like about Lou Malnati's was the night before, we went to Giordano's for pizza. So we had pizza, then piggybacked by pizza. So it was just like too much pizza. Oh, now I'm not going to tell you who doesn't like each other. That's not cool. That's not my story to tell. I know P-Dubs goes forever, right? People are nice to people in person. Yeah, well, I'm pretty sure this was pretty genuine. I can't say anything bad about anybody, so we went to Illuminati's, and the night before we went to Giordano's. I do got to go back a little bit. So we were there, there was 5 of us, so we were like, we're going to need 2 pies. So we got like a Giordano's deluxe pizza, which had like sausage and like all kinds of like, vegetables that should be on a pizza. And then B, for some reason, goes, I'm just going to have a salad. And then P-Dubs is like, I got you covered. We'll get a vegetarian pizza. So we demolished the real pizza, and then we were all looking at the vegetarian. We were like, what? What the hell? Oh, yeah. So P-Dubs thinks he can take Cool Toy man versus man. That is something he did say one time. There's a long story about that. We talked about it at lunch. So what happened was, P-Dubs, Cool Toy was actually in a real fight. Like, he did this, like, online taekwondo fight or, like, cage fighting fight. And, like, he murdered the guy. Cool Toy is, like, badass. I will never fight that guy. And I'm stupid enough to think I could fight anybody. But, like, even I'm like, yeah, I don't think I'll ever take on Doug. I think he's a trained killer. So I was telling the guys about it, and P-Dubs was like, whatever. I bet you I could still take Doug if I wanted. So, of course, my first thing I would say is, really? So, I told all you guys before, but while we were sitting down, I told Doug about it. And then Doug just laughed at P-Dubs and goes, whatever, first lesson's free. I know, right? Veggie pizza. Someone asked, Giordano's or Illuminati's. I would take Illuminati's all day, every day over Giordano's. I thought Illuminati's was better. I thought Giordano's was really good. The only thing that's a drawback with Giordano's was the veggie pizza. If we never got the veggie pizza, we all would have been okay. Excuse me. Both Fox and Cool Toy have killed people, probably. Agreed. Yeah, probably for the best. You're not wrong, brother. You're not wrong. Illuminati's. That was another thing. When we showed up, Multicade Matt had this jersey on that said, like, Arcades Anonymous, and then had his name and number on the back. We were like, the hell'd you get that? And he was like, we ordered them. So we were all laughing, and we were like, we should get jerseys that say the Illuminati, and then our names and numbers on the back. So look forward to that in the future. Yes, you're in Chicago. You're going to have, Chicago deep dish cake pizza. You get the meat lovers or something loaded with sausage. You don't get vegetable My God. So anyways, after that, we then finally headed to the Pinball Expo, and man, it's overwhelming. Like, it is such a big area we got in, and even though, it's not really that many people, it was so hard to find everybody. Like, of course, there's different rooms. There was like a free play arcade, and then there were all the different booths. So I went in there. We were supposed to have meetings with Wonderland Amusements for the pinball at 1 o'clock, but we were late where we went to Illuminati's. So I went in, apologized, said hello to Jerry, said hello to the team there, and just went on my way. I think P-Dubs and Cool Toy did an interview with Jerry the first day. I decided I was going to come back and do it later where I had missed my time. I was like, I'm not going to bother him. But I then went around and I checked out all the stuff I hadn't got to check out yet. And the first place I went to was the Spooky Pinball booth, because I have never played Texas Chainsaw or Looney Tunes. And I heard Looney Tunes is really good, but my eyes were drawn directly to Texas Chainsaw. And I gotta say, I really like Texas Chainsaw. I think it might be one of Spooky's best playing games to date. That's not my favorite horror movie, not my favorite horror theme, but I went there, I played it, I absolutely loved it. I got to talk to Spooky Luke a little bit, and I was trying to eke out of him what their next game was. He wouldn't really tell me. All he said was, we'd love to do all of them. Freddy, Nightmare on Elm Street, Friday the 13th, Evil Dead, and I was like, oh, I heard that one's rumored. But he wouldn't tell me anything on what was coming out next. But funny enough, I was talking to some people outside, and they said they did a tour of Spooky or got some inside information. They said, watch out for Spooky Pinball. The next game they've got coming out is going to be their Godzilla. I don't know if the guy who wants me to say who said it, but he said, watch for Spooky Pinball's next game. It's going to be their best one. Now, I was also talking to Carrie Hardy a little bit regarding Spooky Pinball, because I've noticed here in Canada, there's only one distributor. There's only really 2 or 3 distributors in Canada, but the one that normally serves our region of Canada is Player One Amusements. And for some reason, they don't carry Spooky at all. We got to rely on Nitro Pinball, and they've only recently moved to the East. So I asked Carrie, I was like, why do people, more distributors not carry Spooky? And, you got to think about it. Distributors don't carry it. You don't see it in a lot of bars. I know some of that comes with, reliability. Some people complain about Spooky's reliability, but yeah, I have no idea. So anyways, they said the next Spooky game is going to be amazing. Spooky's pins are amazing. Chris Franchi art is amazing, bar none. Well, I gotta tell you, I really, really, really like Texas Chainsaw. That's not my favorite horror movie franchise. I mean, I would put about 7 different franchises in front of that. But I gotta tell you, I played it. It was really friggin' good. It shot so well. Jerry B, you can ask 19K Fox, maybe ask some people that were better than me at this, because I did not like John Wick Pinball. If you like it, good for you. It was not my jam at all. Did not enjoy John Wick Pinball. So let's talk about the people we met on the first couple days. So I finally got to meet Cornercade as well. Cornercade was at the Pinball Expo. I never got to meet his wife and kids, but Cornercade was there. It was nice meeting Danny for the first time. Of course, we met all the Arcades Anonymous guys. Day 1, really, technically day 2 when we went to Galloping Ghost, but we saw those guys again. It was just such a great time meeting, other YouTubers, and then having people come up, say hello to us, introducing themselves. It's so nice, because sometimes all you see is a name on YouTube, and you never know who the person is. And then they actually come up to you, and you can put a name to the, a face to the name, and you're like, oh, that's who you are. Because sometimes people at first come up and they start talking to me, and then I think they get it, and they're a minute in, they're like, oh, by the way, I'm so-and-so on YouTube. So meeting people and getting to hang out was a super fun experience as well. Garage Gamer says, John Wick is fun once you figure out how to get the multi-ball. I don't know. Yes. Frank D says he just looks like his profile pic. There you go. I'll just look for your profile pic next time, Frank D. So then we went back to Pinball Expo. We had a bunch of fun. Oh, the other thing was before we were leaving, that night we were going out to Medieval Times, and a couple things happened. I came outside around 5 o'clock because we were supposed to go to Interium again, but this time it was for like this influencer meet and greet type thing where all the like the big pinball channels and stuff were going to meet with like all these people, and we were supposed to go. B Kong again got us tickets. Super nice guy, but the problem was that's at 5 o'clock, and we were going to Medieval Times at 7, and I did not want to screw up Medieval Times, so I was like, I'm kind of good with not going to this dinner, and B felt obligated, so B was like, I'm going. Then I also saw Retro Ralph, Mason, Stringer, and Brian. They were in the car. I jumped in the car with them, and I was like, go! And Ralph was like, hey man, you want to come to dinner with us? And I was like, I'd love to, but I got to go to Medieval Times. So I had to cancel like 2 dinner opportunities. Ended up just going from there. We went home for a quick minute just to get like cleaned up. Then we went to Medieval Times, and it was like a 25-year dream come true. I'll never forget. I went to Toronto on our first ever family vacation when I was like 13, 14. So maybe a little bit more than 25 years, like 26 years. And all I wanted to do when I went there was go to Medieval Times. I begged my parents, and they wouldn't take us. They were like, no, we're not going to Medieval Times. So I've always wanted to go, and every time I'm somewhere where there is a Medieval Times, I'm like, guys, we should go. Guys, we should go. Guys, we should go. Finally happened. You see this giant castle from the highway. We get inside. As soon as we get in, we meet up with all the Arcades Anonymous guys. They were in a different section than ours. We were right down in the front row for the Red Knight. They had the yellow and red Knight. And we went in, and yeah, it was an experience. We were all already had a couple drinks. We had several more drinks during the performance. We ate half a chicken. It was very strange because they don't give you any cutlery. Just like in the movie, can I have a knife and fork? In Medieval Times, they did not use a knife and fork, so therefore, there is no knife and fork. So, yeah, I ate chicken with my hands, and they said, here's your dragon French fry, or whatever it was. It was just half a fried potato and some corn. But the meal was good, and the show was really good, too. Like, our night didn't do as well as I hoped. The black and white night won in the end, but overall, awesome show. It's cool seeing, like, at one point, the Falconeer. I was like, oh my god, that falcon is going to go right in somebody's eye. So the Falconeer was really cool. All the events were really cool. And we were just acting like big, stupid kids. We got a picture at the end. Reminded me of the picture, like, from Back to the Future Part 3, where Doc and Marty get the picture, the Old West picture. So overall, super fun night. Cherished memories. I'll never forget it. Love my time going to Medieval Times. Love French fries. I do too, Glenn. So next day, we went back to the expo. We got to, that was when I did the majority of my filming. So went around, filmed a bunch of stuff, got to play a bunch of stuff. It was another good day, but like, this is when it really started picking up. And I'll tell you what, the convention was a lot for me. It was a lot of hurry up and wait, because you would go to a machine, and there would always be like 2 or 3 people in front of you, regardless of whatever machine. So as much as you wanted to play when you were there, it was hard to find an opening at times. So it was a lot of waiting around. And the second day, I was starting to get really frustrated before we left, because one of the main reasons I wanted to go there was in the homebrew pinball, someone had made a Friday the 13th pinball, and I was determined that I was going to get a chance to play this Friday the 13th pinball. But I had the guys calling me. They were like, we're getting out of here for the night. Hurry up. Come on. So I'm there waiting in line. I knew the guys wanted to leave. So finally, I'm 2 people behind. The guy in front gets up to go. Only one person, and there's 2 people in front of me that were going to play 2-player game. The one person in front of me calls over 3 friends and then has a 4-player game. And I was like, screw it. I got to go. So I go meet up with the guys, and I was like, are we leaving? They're like, we'll leave in like another hour. So I go back over to Friday the 13th. Still, there's only 2 people in front of me, and I was like, ooh, I'll get to play it. All of a sudden, I noticed this guy talking. Turns out he's the guy who made the game. So then on the spot, he ends up doing an interview with me. He's just as big of a nerd for Friday the 13th as I am. So we had a great conversation. He explained how the pinball was made. I can't wait to shoot that video for you guys. Well, it's already shot. I can't wait to get that video done and uploaded. Friday the 13th pinball. Super cool way he did the art. Playfield super cool. Flipper strength leads a lot to be desired, but I don't know. So then after that, we went home, and this was the first night I started feeling sick. I left the convention, and my heart rate, like my Apple Watch, the heart rate monitor started going nuts. It was like high blood pressure rate while resting, and I was like, the hell is going on? So we go outside. All of a sudden, I start to get the chills. We go to Culver's, which I'm very excited about. We ate great food at Culver's, but while I'm there, I could feel something wasn't right. So we go home, and I'm not feeling well. But then was it P-Dubs or someone else was like, well, let's stream. So I powered down a beer, and I said, all right, let's go. So I forced myself not to be sick that night. We streamed, and then finally I went to sleep. Next day we wake up, and I could feel it. I was like, okay, I think I'm a little sick. Got in the shower. Everything was pretty good. We go to the Pinball Expo, and as soon as we get there, we run across the whole Arcades Anonymous group out front, including seeing PD7 for the first time and Biggie D. We said hello to those guys, took a couple pictures. Then the mascots came over, Flippy, and we got a picture with Flippy. And then out of nowhere, Gary Stern comes up to us and just wants to talk to us. So we ended up having a nice conversation with Gary Stern. He was like, how do you guys all know each other? And I was like, we're YouTubers, man. So then we took a picture with him. He was super nice. Then for some reason, B Kong, who I'm not sure if he was just being cheap or what the deal was, B was determined. We weren't getting anything good for breakfast. We were going to Costco for hot dogs. 0% of our group wanted to go to Costco for hot dogs, but B was determined. So he convinces the entire Arcades Anonymous group and us that let's go to Costco and get a hot dog. So we go to Costco. As soon as we walk in, the entire food court is shut down. There's no food court. And I was like, great plan, B. Then the guys wanted to walk around and look for like the Stern Home Jurassic Park or the Arcade1Up XL. Neither was there. All they had there was the pub table. Pub table was not so great. Gotta say, big difference from the original Pong pub table. I don't know if the Pong pub table came in so many parts. I think for some reason the side panels were solid. This one, it seemed like the side panels met in the middle, and maybe they weren't fully connected or something, because it felt very wobbly. But anyways, from there, they went for Korean fried chicken. We just went back to the event, and then me and 19K Fox just played a bunch of pinball. We went into the free play area, the old area where the guy had classic pinball. We just played tons of classic pinball. We played Elvira and the Party Monsters. We tried to play Twisters, but Twister was down. We played Sega Baywatch, but the flipper strength was wonky on that one. Played some Data East, Guns N' Roses. Just played a bunch of older pinball and had so much fun. You guys suck. We left the house at 12 p.m. because you guys didn't shower yet. We still could have had breakfast, you dork. The $1.50 Costco hot dogs. That's what B wanted. Then we stayed at the expo till about, 6 o'clock or so. And I noticed I was coughing a lot. And I was like, maybe I just smoked too much. I knew something was wrong. I kept getting that heart rate monitor. So we decided to leave. And then we said, all right, let's go to Hooters since we were not able to get in last night. That's why we ended up going to Culver's. So we went to Hooters. And Hooters food was terrible. Hey, congratulations, Brian G. Godzilla Pro. I love Data East Guns N' Roses, man. I gotta tell you, I have not played a Data East pinball that I haven't liked yet. Like, all the ones I've played, Tales from the Crypt, Batman, Back to the Future, Guns N' Roses, all the Data East games. I've played Data East Star Wars, too, I think. Love them. So, we went to Hooters. Food was terrible. And then when we were leaving, I could feel it. I was like, I am dying. I am literally dying. So Fox got me to put the seat warmer on. That warmed me up. We got home and we were talking for a bit. And I was like, we were still waiting for B to come home because B was at like the, he stayed for the conventions and stayed like right till the end of like all the seminars and stuff. And P-Dubs was out playing Uno with his sisters. So I was like, guys, I'm just going to go to sleep for a while. And then about, around 10:30, 11 o'clock, everybody came home and I forced myself to get up. And Fox came over and brought me like a water. And I downed the water. I ended up drinking like 4 waters in a row. Started to feel a little bit better then. Tell you more about 19K Fox. Yeah, 19K Fox is like the nicest person in the entire world. I can't say enough good things about him. The one thing I did notice is that every night around the exact same time, he pops on his phone and listens to this really deep state podcast, like all about like really conspiracy theories, politics. And it just killed me. It killed me. Thank you so much for the super chat, Kevin Clausen. No, that didn't happen, but I will tell you, I did wake up with B Kong jumping on top of me, saying, "You okay, big guy?" So then we went out. I put a blanket over myself and just kept drinking water until I felt a bit better. Then we all went to sleep. I had so much trouble sleeping. I ended up getting up at 6 o'clock. By that time, Fox and B were already gone to the airport. I said goodbye to P-Dubs. Eventually, Justin woke up, and, I had made coffee for us, so we were there drinking coffee. And I was like, I'm going to have a smoke right quick. And then Justin comes out to me, and he's like, all right, Uber is going to be here to bring us to the airport in 15 minutes. And I was like, I haven't showered yet, so I had to take, like, the quickest shower I've ever taken in my life. Gamer Fridge, what's happening, brother? Had to take the quickest shower of my life. I then jumped on a plane, sick as a dog, and had like the worst travel day I've ever had in my life. Like, I felt like garbage. I went to the airport and I was like, I haven't eaten yet. So I went and sat down in Chili's, and I was looking at the menu, looking at the prices, and I was thinking like, I'm too sick to even eat. I'm not even going to get this. So I just went to McDonald's and got a chicken Big Mac and like an extra large Coke. And I just sat down there, barely finished the chicken Big Mac, and just drank the Coke to try to get some hydration in me. And then I just had like broken, awful sleep. And then when I got home, I was like, had the shakes and everything. I walked in the door, could barely get myself together. I opened up my suitcase to get the 2 stuffies I got, because what I got for my kids was I got them the mascots from the Pinball Expo. So one, for my daughter, I got Flipette, and for my son, I got Flippy. I went and put them next to the kids in bed, and my wife was like, hey, are you coming to bed? I was like, no, I have the COVID or the whooping cough or something. I don't want to give it to anybody. I'm going to go to sleep on the couch. And then that was it. And here I am. It's taken me most of today, but I'm finally starting to feel better. My heart rate, has stopped on my phone. So I was terrified. I was literally terrified. Yeah, how about water for hydration? Guys, it's not smoking. It's not about water. Like, I literally got like a crazy flu. No, it wasn't the food. Jesus, I have the flu. The flu. What I was worried about, like, you hear those stories about with wrestling, like it just happened with Kill Switch, or you might remember him as Luchasaurus. He had complications from pneumonia, and like he's probably never going to wrestle again. Bray Wyatt died of like heart complications from COVID, so I was terrified. Now, I do hear you on the food. I got to lay off that stuff. I've already lost a little bit of weight. Got to keep going. And me and my wife are quitting smoking too. That was our rule. When I get home from this expo, time to quit smoking again. So the smoking's gone. Food's there. My heart should be good. I just got to get over this flu. I have food flu. I wish it was food flu. Yeah, water or Gatorade Zero is the best for dehydration. I'm feeling a lot better now. I got a feeling I'll be back to 100% tomorrow. Thanks, guys. Now, the whole time all this was going on, I got to check the time. The whole time this was going on, the rest of the world seemed to turn as well. So we got huge announcements from New Wave Toys this past weekend. I don't really have any pictures up for it. I might, actually, in the Super Game Room Dudes page. Thankfully, Jason Little Alien posted them. I just got to find them. So let me see if I can bring this up on screen for you guys. So New Wave Toys did their first of their own show. Yes, I would wish I get healthy too. I'll hit one as well. Here we go, console kits just for you. Anyways, Jason Little Alien captured this. They did their own show. The reason they were coming to Pinball Expo, I have no idea why they didn't come. New Wave Toys had a big announcement to make, and that's because they're doing Bally Williams in the Replicate mini pin line. One of the things we talked about when they announced their first pin was it was a Gottlieb title. It was Black Hole. Iconic, beautiful, but when people think pinball, especially people from our age demographic that are buying these Replicates, a lot of people are thinking Bally Williams. So there's so many cool games they could do. to me, this was a slam dunk announcement. I didn't really get a gauge for what they plan to do with this. I don't know if these pins will be much more active than what they have previously done with Black Hole. I don't know if it's going to be functional, or if it's going to be... I did almost die, P-dubs. Yeah, my heart rate, all back to normal. Why is Fox listening to ultra right-wing podcasts and mixed companies? Because Fox is an ultra right-wing man. I'm so glad you got to meet Kevin Clausen in person. And it would have been nice if he said, hey, good to see you, I'm Kevin Clausen, instead of just coming up and hugging you, and you were like, who was that dude? And then afterwards be like, damn it, that was Kevin. Anyways, huge announcement from New Wave Toys. I think this is cool. Question is what they're going to do, how much more playable it's going to be. They didn't make sense economically, and also I think it would have been questionable if they went to show off their Black Hole. Like, you're almost setting yourself up for disappointment, because not everybody at that expo would have already been following New Wave Toys and the mini pins, and how many people are going to come by the booth, see it, and be like, cool, oh, wait a minute, it doesn't play? So it might have been a bad situation for them. I was disappointed. I would have loved to have seen Eduardo Shiloh again. I was looking forward to it. So that was one of my biggest bummers of the convention. They weren't there, but super stoked about the announcement. I can't wait to see what they do first. I know they left some hints there. I've got my personal favorites I want. We'll see what happens there, but huge news for New Wave Toys. Then Glenn did a show on Friday, and Glenn announced, let me actually get it up for you guys. I'll show you a little bit of it, just so it's something instead of my ugly face. So, give me a second here. Uno momento. I heard a little bit on the background of this. Where is it? I just want to go to your page, Glenn. Here we go. I just got to get through the ads, guys. I know he was hanging with... I didn't know at the time, though. I wish I knew. You lucky ducks. Man, ads. Who puts all these ads in their videos? Good point, MG. Good point. So, Glenn did his first show without Steven, his co-host. And during the show, he told everybody about his big announcement for the GRS full-size arcade. When he initially made his announcement, the plan was he was going to go with a 26-inch screen. Now, I was talking to Glenn behind the scenes, and he was like, yeah, I'm going to do what Quarter Arcades does. Because what Quarter Arcades does, they don't actually put a 4x3 screen in their Quarter Arcades. 1 second, guys. I need a little sip of coffee. So what Quarter Arcades does, they actually use a 16x9 screen, and then they bezel it. So that was Glenn's plan. So I was like, okay, well, how big a screen are you going to use? He was like, well, it's a 26-inch 16x9. And I was like, yeah, but if you bezel that, that's only going to be like 19 inches. And then he was like, no, do you think? And I was like, yeah, that's how it works. So anyways, we went back and forth, and it was at that point he turned like, okay, well, I'm going to go talk to Unico. Now, from what I understand, a deal with Unico was pretty much signed, sealed, and delivered. Something got screwed up, and it came down to two things, because I asked Glenn about this earlier. What happened was, one, they couldn't arrive at a price that made sense for Glenn. Their price was $125 more than what he had an option of. So that would have affected the overall cost to us, and he's trying to meet a certain price point. The other thing that impacted his decision was the fact that the machine already weighs like 300 pounds. So how much do you think this thing is going to cost to get shipped? Like, geez, right? So what Glenn did tell me, because I confirmed with him, I said, so what are you going to do? Are you going to do like... you going to do the 26-inch widescreen? He said no. He's doing a 4x3 LCD screen, but it is going to be 19 inches. So, a little bit disappointing that, we're not going to have that big 26-inch monitor. That's one of the big things that drew me to the GRS Multicade. Obviously, I talked about it. I was looking at the Unico Nova Blast because it had this giant 26-inch screen, and I was like, oh my god, I want to get it just for the screen. But then Glenn announced his, and I could get a 26-inch screen in a format that would allow me to play pretty much everything. So huge huge reason for me being so excited about Glenn's Arcade was the 26-inch monitor. Now we're breaking it down to a 19-inch monitor, so you're getting about the same size monitor you would have in an Arcade1Up XL. Now, it's not that big a deal. I mean, some arcades, like my beloved Robotron, use a 19-inch monitor anyways. This way, they're going to have lots of, good things for the functioning of the arcade and for the rotation. But it is still a little disappointing. We're not going to get that big 26-inch monitor. So, yeah. Retro Lizard says, dude, I build full size that doesn't weigh that much. Huge! Jason says, 19-inch monitor, big enough. Akari Warriors will be playable. Why is it 300 pounds? I thought plywood is lighter than MDF. 26-inch seemed like a lot to me. There's an H in that word. H. I'm from Newfoundland. We drop our H's. Paul Minderman says, I was never excited for another Multicade, and this just cements it's nothing special. Chaotic says he's going with the Nova Blast for his. I will tell you, for the people saying 19's good enough, we went to see these Multicades at the Pinball Expo, this Retrocade place. They had reached out to me before and talked about possibly doing a review unit. But of course, I live on an island off the coast of Canada. Probably not going to work out. But one of the things that really intrigued me, they have this huge cabinet that's like $6,000, way outside my price range. But he has a 50-inch 4K monitor in it. And when you see, like, with the bezel on the screen, how big the screen is. Like, guys were playing 4-player Turtles. It was a 36-inch screen. And I was like, Jesus Christ, that looks good. 19-inch might be fine for some of you, but man, I'm gonna miss that 26-inch. So we'll still follow along. I'm still very excited for Glenn's full-size cabinet. Of course, this is disappointing news, the screen being smaller. But we'll see if this impacts the price point, how much everything's going to cost with shipping and everything, and we'll follow along. I'm still excited for it. Yeah, I know. I wish they could have worked out a deal with Unico. From what I understand, Glenn was all on board. GRS in Japan was all on board. Unico in Japan was all on board. And Unico USA fucked it up. That's the news I got. This is Unico USA's fault that there's a 19-inch in the GRS full-size arcade now. That's what I heard. Right, console kits? Like, here's the thing. We're all, like, guys that wanted recreation arcades. We're all in front of these giant multicades with, like, this 50-inch screen, and you're like, holy shit. It's amazing. Huge. I gotta say it for you Americans. Huge. You know what, Kevin Clausen? It is Fox's fault. I'll tell you a little bit more about it later on. So, on top of that, Arcade1Up did some stuff this weekend that I wasn't exactly happy with. So, Jason Donnelly says, no, you give the 26 option for 125 upcharge. 19 is a dime a dozen. This is a deal breaker for me. Deal maker for me. Yeah, I don't know if Glenn can do that. Yeah, exactly. Like, once you're used to playing on a big screen, you kind of don't want to go back. Yes, that's the other one. The screen that... Now, that's too bougie even for me, Stock Jock. That thing was cool as hell, but way too bougie. Anyways, I wanted to bring this up before we finish up. We still got to talk about the Arcade1Up photo booth. I'm trying to find it. So, I can't find the article right now, but this popped up while we're in Chicago, and someone can help me. If someone can send me a link for this, that'd be great. So, we're in Chicago for the Pinball Expo, and you think about who's going. You've got Retro Ralph, you've got Cool Toy, probably two of the biggest names that have ever covered Arcade1Up in their entire history. Probably the biggest content creators that have, really put out their stuff and really worked with the company. Then on top of that, you have the Illuminati, myself, P-Dubs, Console Kits, 19K Fox, B-Kong. You got all of Arcades Anonymous there. You got PD7 there. You have all these content creators that make content about your product. They're in Chicago. Very clearly, we put on all our social media, we're going to be in Chicago. And then I find out that Arcade1Up are actually hosting an event in Chicago. It's like Shop Talk Chicago, Arcade1Up, the very same weekend where Justin Lowe, the new VP of Marketing, is holding a session for influencers about, brand stability with Arcade1Up. Now, you think about this. You're going to be in Chicago. You have an opportunity to interface directly with a majority of the content creators who make content about your space. And you don't even reach out to any of them to even talk to them to say, hey, it would be nice if you stopped by. Hey, it would be nice if, you came to this event. Or, hey, while I'm in Chicago, it would be nice to meet up. Something. So you think about this. This is a company that all of us, whether you think we were shilling or not, have probably sold the majority of Arcade1Up's cabinets based on our reviews and shows and shit like that. I probably being a little bit egotistical and saying that now. So think about that. Arcade1Up is there for Shop Talk Chicago. Let me see if I can still find it. I want to find the article. But, think about that. They're there. They did not reach out to any of us. They just put an announcement out, we're going to be there. And assumed people would come to the great Arcade1Up. The great Arcade1Up. See if I can find it, guys. If not, if someone else knows about the article, let me know. Yeah, here it is. Yeah, October 16th to 18th in Chicago, Shop Talk Fall, with Justin Lowe, Chief Marketing. Now, this motherfucker is the Chief of Marketing. And no point in his mind did he say, oh my God, I have all these people here that are potentially free advertisement for our brand, which you're there to brag about how good you are at keeping your brand relevant. And you don't even have the common sense or the decency to reach out to any single person from this space to maybe say hello to you while you're in Chicago. Maybe your whole speech should have been about how to alienate everybody who cares about our fucking product, okay? How about that? Jesus Christ. I can't get over it. I can't get over this company. It's like they are trying to go out of their way to submarine themselves. Anyways, they did this in Chicago the same week as Pinball Expo, where 95% of the content creators who cover their product were, and didn't have any fucking common sense to reach out to anybody. Great job, Arcade1Up. You're doing super. Speaking of Arcade1Up doing super, this weekend they announced Photo Booth. So Arcade1Up have brought back their popular Photo Booth product. Might not be popular to all of us, but this thing apparently sold incredibly well during the first run that it actually went out, when it was the Polaroid Photo Booth. So you'll notice it has a different look. It's no longer dual branded with Polaroid. It now uses zinc photos, and from what I understand, Polaroid photos are zinc photos anywhere. I looked it up on Amazon. You can buy them from any brand. Kodak. You can also buy Polaroid zinc photos. All kinds of options. So pretty much anything with zinc. It's on sale for $5.62 Canadian. I don't know the math on that, so I'm thinking $3.99 US. You can bring it back out. Now, one smart thing about this, where this became huge, was people were using them in some kind of TikTok challenge or Instagram. What they were doing, they're actually taking photos with the photo booth and using the Polaroid photo for their Instagram photo. I don't understand the whole idea behind this. I know this isn't something that's a big thing for everybody. Like, you're like, what does photo booth have to do with arcades? Well, I'll tell you my story now. When I was a kid, I remember I was 11 years old in grade 6, going on my first real date, because I had already gone on dates to a dance and we went to a party with like my first girlfriend in grade 6. Like, I was 11 and she was 12. So we went to a dance, went to a party, 7 Minutes in Heaven and all that stuff. So we were going on our first date. I was taking her to the mall to watch Wayne's World 1. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. My first date was taking a beautiful girl to Wayne's World 1. So before we did that, we stopped into the arcade, and right outside the arcade, there was a photo booth. So, of course, we had to go to the photo booth to get our date pictures. And it was one of those iconic moments because the theater was right there, and the arcade was right here, and right in the middle was that photo booth, right outside the arcade. So it was almost like a rite of passage. You had to go to the photo booth if you were going to the movies or going to the arcade. Mike B pulls. You're damn right, Kevin Clausen. When I was younger and thinner and 11, I had some good looking ass. Well, not really ass. I was 11. Oh yeah, those guys. They could write a book on what Arcade1Up is now compared to what it used to be. I think Justin is trying to call Canadians stupid. Weird. Anyways, the photo booth is iconic for that reason for me. So I think of the photo booth when I think of arcades because we had one just outside our arcade. But the majority of people actually use this for weddings. So it makes sense that it would be white now, because with most wedding decor, a reddish orange doesn't really go well with the wedding decor. A white one goes very well. And of course, it has no Polaroid branding, so it doesn't need to be a loud color. I think white's pretty good. Let's take a look at this thing. Yeah, not really much from one to the next. There's a side view. Is it thinner than it was before? I can't remember how wide the other one was, but this one looks thinner for some reason. That's Arcade1Up's new slogan. We'll make everything thinner so more can fit in Danny's house. Because I think he's the only one buying everything at this point. And he seems to need all that depth. Anyways, this is not a product I would get personally, but I still think there's merit for it. I mean, I put it in my video, Arcade1Up did products, and John D wrote me and he said, dude, that is not dead. That was a massive seller for us. We actually sold out. I don't know. I've heard that it's terrible. It's like a cheap tablet and the pictures come out in low quality. I don't know what to say, but other people seem to love it. Is it like a huge product in my mind? No, but if you missed out on the photo booth, you can get it again. And like someone mentioned here earlier, it's one of those mainstream things that I think is going to do pretty well. Now let's see. Do they have a video or anything? Oh, here it is. 2x3 zinc photo printing. You'd be stupid not to get it. All right, let's watch this again. Turn up the quality. This is horrible. Oh yeah, that's another thing. Arcade1Up videos maxed out at 480p. Thanks, guys. Quality. So you put your zinc photo sheets in, make some really awkward poses, choose your color and orientation, and then out it comes. And those photos are small. Photo booth, Arcade1Up. Well, the great thing about the photo booth is they didn't need to get any licensing. In fact, the only partnership they had with the photo booth was with Polaroid, and they said, get out of here. Yeah, it's bigger than I thought. Hey, Paul loves it. I don't have any problem with it, Paul. It's not for me, but like I said, I can totally understand why people would get one. Like a photo booth, in my mind, is so iconic of like 80s malls. They always seem to be outside the arcades or movie theaters. Totally get the nostalgia for this. Obviously, it's not a booth. Like when you play Star Wars, it's not an environmental Star Wars. But yeah, I get it. Dragot says they stole it. I have no idea. Maybe they did. Apparently they stole the Infinity Game Board too, some people say. It's like the Game Boy camera. Hey, never speak ill of the Game Boy camera. Zinc, not Zinc MG. I have no idea. Another time, I'll tell you a very funny story about when I bought my first... I'm going to tell you the story anyways. So I used to work with this dude. And we had this job working overnights at Tim Hortons, like making muffins. So I actually had 2 jobs at the time, and I was in university. So what happened was, I wanted to get through university with no bills. So in the summer times, I would work as much as I could. And this summer was the first summer I wasn't going to work as a day camp counselor, because I had worked the summer before in the U.S. at an overnight camp called Camp Winnetou. And I was like, oh man, I don't want to go back there. And I thought I had maxed out all the years I could work at my local summer camp. So I was like, I'm going to have to do something different. I was already working at the local stadium for the St. John's Maple Leafs. I was in food and beverage. I was the box sweets person that brought around all the food to them. So I was doing pretty good hours with them. I was getting like almost full time over the summer. But an opportunity came up to actually work at Tim Hortons too. So I would work like pretty much every day, like 9 to 5, go home and sleep for 2 hours, and then I would work 10 to 6 at Tim Hortons overnight baking, and then I would go to sleep for another hour and then go back to work. Wild summer. Like I got nothing in life done that whole summer. So at one point, I kept working there when I went back to university, and I was working weekends and some weeknights while I was still going to university. One of the guys I worked with was a big fan of video games, and he knew I was too. So we used to go out when we got our paychecks every Thursday, and we'd go like buy a couple of games and stuff like that. One time he was like, I think I'm going to get a Polaroid camera. And I was like, really? Yeah. And it was just like this cheap Fun Shop Polaroid camera was on for like $30. And I was like, screw it, I'll get one too. So anyways, he gets the camera, I get it, and, you know, like I didn't do much with it. Me and my girlfriend at the time went around just shooting stupid photos. We always did, because we were foolishly in love. We'd always get pictures of ourselves. He had different opinions of what he should do with the camera. So he actually used his Polaroid camera to take sex shots with his girlfriend, and then stupidly left them in his girlfriend's house for her mother to find them. I will never, ever forget that. So if you're thinking about doing the same with the Polaroid photo booth, just be careful where you put the pictures afterwards. Oh man, I got addicted to Tim Hortons coffee. When I was working there, especially overnights when I wasn't sleeping, I would probably drink like 10 coffees a day. And now if I don't, like, I'm not doing well if I don't get at least 5 or 6 coffees a day. Whew, ruined me for life. That was, she was mad. The girl actually worked at Tim Hortons too. And her mom came down, just went in, threw the uniform at the manager and said, my daughter doesn't work here no more. Yeah. So anyways, guys, that's the Arcade1Up photo booth. If you like it, cool. Now, Paul Minderman, I will tell you this, because it's just a little smidgen of hope for you and me and people who like XL cabinets. So when I did my video, I think it was like a week ago, Arcade1Up done for 2024, because if they had any new products that would come out, it would have to be announced relatively soon to be here in time for the holidays. Obviously, I was wrong, because they announced the photo booth, but I was told that wasn't the only thing I was wrong about. John D also commented on my Facebook post and said he heard there were rumblings Arcade1Up might be doing one more cab. They asked to do a cab, and it was an XL. So, I mean, take it with a grain of salt, but John D did say there's a rumor that Arcade1Up have looked into doing at least one more XL this year. Will it be locked behind Costco? How will it work? I have no idea. Will it ever come out? I have no idea. Time will tell. So, you know, at least there's a little bit of hope there, Paul. And for the other people that want the XL cabs, Arcade1Up recreations, there you go. So, guys, that's all I got tonight. I went a little bit long. I'm sorry. I'm surprised I went this long. seeing I was sick, but I just had so much freaking fun on this vacation. Like, it was so much fun seeing so many friends again, meeting people for the first time. Like, I can't tell you how nice it was to meet people that I've been talking to for 4 or 5 years now. Guys like Ralph. Ralph was awesome. Also, like, all of Ralph's friends. Stringer Films is just the absolute funniest dude I've ever met in my life. Man, he never stops talking. Like, he is so friggin' funny. And Nick Madsen's like the sweetest human being in the entire world. I love Nick. Nice seeing Mason again. Doug was a pleasure to meet. He's everything I hoped for. Guys from Arcade Anonymous, Stock Jock, Multicade and Matt. PD7 was fun again. Steps Gaming was fun to hang out with. I don't want to miss anybody. Gamer Fridge, it was cool hanging around with you, man. Gallagher Guy was awesome. Brian, Chaotic BPR. Brian, you are a badass, man. I love hanging out with you. I wish that we got to see each other more than just, once a year. I hate that I live so far away. Like, it would be so amazing to be able to do this more regularly. Like, I was talking to Nick earlier today. He's like, dude, I would love for you to come to Southern Fried Gaming. And I would love to be able to just, like, literally hop in a car like Fox does and drive for 4 hours and then see all my friends. But it's so friggin' hard. Like, you have no idea, man. Like, especially flying home that last day. 8 hours in the air, another 3 hours in air. Well, no, it was like 6 hours in the air, 7 hours in the air, then another 3 hours in the airports, like totally sick. Oh my God, it was horrible. And it's just so freaking expensive. Like, what's a car ride for some people? It costs like $900 to $1,000 for me to fly out, but I'll figure something out, man. And we got to do this more often because this is amazing getting together, amazing hanging out. Gamer Fridge knows Bubbles is the bomb. He watched me play Bubbles in person at Galloping Ghost. I love Bubbles. We got to do this more often. Anyways, a lifetime of memories came from this trip. So good going back to Chicago. I think next time we talked about possibly going to California sometime this summer. Might not be everybody's cup of tea, but there's a pile of pinball and arcade bars in California. Then on top of that, we're doing like this family trip to Disney. Like, while we were in Giordano's that night, we came up with it. So yeah, we were talking about getting all the wives together. They all talked on the phone. Like, literally, 19K Vox's wife was on his phone talking to Caroline on her phone. I called my wife, and she was like, as long as you're paying for it, I don't give a shit. And then Justin's wife was okay with it. Melissa was okay with it. I shouldn't have said her name. P-Dubs is going to kill me. Anyways, all the wives were cool. So yeah, the plan is, as long as everything goes off without a hitch, we're going to get together in California next year. We're going to do Captain's Auction in person. Going to go to a couple arcade bars and whole family go to Disneyland. We went to medieval times. Might as well do all the stupid shit, right? Yeah, there you go. That'd be amazing. Like, it would be like a big family trip for everybody. Of course, this was, when was it? After Galloping Ghost, we went to Giordano's. Yeah. So that's been the idea ever since. So we'll see if it comes to fruition. If not, another guy's trip. We're still going to go to Disneyland. Anyways, guys, thank you so much for hanging out tonight. It was great. I got a ton of stuff coming out. I came home today. There was an Evercade Alpha waiting for me. I've got a Kinhank hard drive over here that I finally got to break out and do a review for. I've got tons of footage from the Pinball Expo I still want to get to. I've got a video coming up on the Friday the 13th Homebrew Pinball. I've got a video on Retrocade. P-Dubs put one out as well. Really good. And I think B. Kong did one if he doesn't have video out already. I've also got one on Ice Cold Beer and then one overall on my thoughts on the whole Pinball Expo. So tons of content this week. I also got The Thing. I also got Angelo P. It was awesome seeing you too, brother. On top of that, I also got The Thing on my At Games Legends Pinball 4K. So probably going to stream that some night. Man, what else did I get? Also, Pinball Zen Studios sent me a copy of Camp Bloodbrook. Man, I'm going to be on YouTube like all the time this week. It's going to be crazy. Anyways, guys, by the way, definitely want to see that review of that Evercade you got. I still haven't even had a chance to open it up yet. I got it in the box. I was like, oh my God. And then, like, it's so hard. Like, the first day I'm home, I'm sick, so I've been wearing a mask all day like this around my kids. But, like, after my daughter went to school, like, I just spent all day with my son watching him play, and he just kept coming up and hugging me. And I in the box, and I'm like, no, Mike, you were gone. You were gone a week. you have to be cool. Be cool, man. But anyways, I'm going to open it tonight and get to play it for the first time. It was awesome hugging you too, Kevin. And you got to admit, Medieval Times was so awesome. Anybody who called it stupid, man, you hate having fun because that was wicked. Yes, nice, Jason. Yeah, a lot of people got their super pockets. I know the alphas are going out soon. We're embargoed until November 1st, so check back on November 1st for my alpha review. So, yeah, there we go. Anyways, guys, I'd keep you here all night if I didn't stop myself. So, good night, Godspeed. This is Michael B. the Game Genie, and I'll talk to you next time.